Hey y'all, welcome back to Babeinlibrary. It's your girl Lisa, and today we're going to wrap up my July and August reading month. July and August definitely brought some heat. I read some bangers. July was definitely my birthday month, so I was like, I want nothing but the best for myself. And then I was reading in preparation for Steamy LitCon, so you know I had to pick up some of the authors that would be there. And then the themes kept rolling in August, so I would say I had a pretty doggone 2 months to wrap up here. Now, that does not mean I didn't have any misses. I had one in particular that cut me deep. Like, I could have never saw this coming. This was not on my 2024 bingo, but that's okay because we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it. But before we do that, let's talk about my stats. So in total for the month of July and August, I read 24 books, 11 of them being in July and then 13 of them being in August. With that being said, I only had one DNF. That one DNF is probably a soft DNF for now, but it could eventually turn into a hard DNF just because I don't feel like picking it back up. I might not pique my interest. I got about probably 37% of the way in and I was bored. May not be the book for me or the author for me, and we will get into that. You all know that my NetGalley goal for the year is 60%. Now, to me, that's doggone good. That's what I set as a goal. NetGalley may want me to get at 80%, but that's highly unrealistic. And I was doing well. In the month of July, when I first started, I was at 52%. I quickly realized that read now button is not my friend because I jumped to 47 real quick. 47 dropped like a chilly, breezy bird. And I was like, how did this happen? Yeah, when you start accepting everything that's a read now or your authors start giving you automatic access, it can drop real fast. So don't worry, I'm at 51%. And I know you're probably like, girl, 51% is not 52%. In the month of September, I've got 2 books for sure that's put me back over the 52%. Let's go ahead. Before I get into like my faves, my least favorites, and my surprises of the month, I'm going to talk about a couple of the physical books that I have that did not make this list quite so, but I did want to kind of briefly mention them. So I have 4 books physically that I want to discuss. Everything else I read digitally, and I'll talk about those in different videos. But in preparation for Steamy Lit, each one of these books are read actually. So I read Evelyn Sola's The Takeover. This is the first in that particular series. It is a billionaire, single father, workplace enemies type of rivals to lover situation. Our main male character is coming to take over this company that is a mom and pop toy shop located in New York that is going under and being bankrupt. The daughter of this toy company really wants to keep it in the family, and she's like, hey, you've been grooming me, I'm ready to take it over. And the father kind of sells it under her nose, and the man comes in and he's very much a grump. So this is a grump sunshine situation where he comes in, he wants to handle things a certain way until he meets the woman that pretty much knocks him off of his pedestal for a little bit because 1, she is gorgeous, and 2, she doesn't necessarily put up with his BS. And her father tells him, hey, you are actually going to be trained in the business by my daughter so that when you take it over, you can do what you want with it. And she's not going for it. She's trying to sabotage the man, but her father's like, hey, get your stuff together or else. And this is their romance. Also, in preparation for Steamy Lit, I had to pick up Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail. This is a sapphic workplace romance where it is opposites attract. You have the most interesting meet cute where Astrid, who is a character that I was not sure if I was going to love. Truth be told, I wanted to skip past this one, but the author did tell me last year, she said, you need to read this one. It has a really good arc. I did start to care for Astrid a little bit more, but that is only because of our second female character. I believe her name was Jo. Jordan, actually. Don't call her Jo. She didn't like that. Jordan is the character that I love and hold dear to my heart. Jordan is similar to Takeover. She is trying to keep her family's Airbnb. What she doesn't know is that nobody is coming to the Airbnb. And this is a last ditch effort to try to make sure that we can renovate it, get some publicity for incoming attractions, or else her grandmother is going to have to sell it. And Astrid is the renovator for this. She is the person that is doing the decorations for it. And they have two different visions and they do not necessarily mesh well. And it is them being captured on TV and put in certain situations in order for them to make the dream come true. I enjoyed this one. I think this one was a 4-star as well. In preparation for Steamy Lit, I knew Jamie Wesley would be there and I had Fake It Till You Bake It. I think this was a 3-star book for me. It was very mid. It was a fake dating relationship where our female main character was on a bachelor style TV show, and she wound up leaving the bachelor and said that she had a fiance. She did not. Her grandmother owned a football team, and that football team was where our male main character was a football player for. He also happened to own a bakery, and her grandmother said, hey, you need to go work for this particular person, not knowing that they had met and didn't necessarily get along because she kind of dissed his bakery. Lo and behold, her grandmother had other plans and was like, hey, you're going to work here for 6 months and to get your inheritance. And from there, their relationship started to blossom. To me, this was very, very mid. I didn't necessarily have the warm and fuzzies like I thought, but it was not a bad book by far. I am more interested in reading the sequel of this, which would be his co-worker as far as his business partner / teammates getting with his younger sister for a second chance romance. So I definitely will be reading that. I believe it comes out in November. But this one was okay to me. I also, in preparation for Steamy Lit, did read Abby Jimenez Just for the Summer. Now, do not hate me when I say this. This one was my least favorite in the series. This, as it's compared to Part of Your World and what's Abby's other book? Yours Truly. This one doesn't hold a candle to them. It definitely fits right along the theme with Abby Jimenez. But my benchmark for Abby, which is tried and true, is if I don't cry, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. And this one did not bring me to tears. Every other book that I read of hers, I at least got one teardrop coming down. Some of them I've been bawling. But this one was like, okay, I understand. The male main character and the female main character really are both said to have like this good luck Chuck vibe where they get with people and those people decide to break up with them. And they go on to live happily ever after with the next person in line. And they decide through a kind of funny joking situation they write each other on social media saying, hey, maybe we should date and we'll find our next person. And they decide to go on this pack where they date each other for the summer, and obviously they wind up falling in love. You can see that our female main character has some abandonment issues. She has some other issues that's preventing her from really falling in love with our male main character, but he is falling right down the rabbit hole like Alice in Wonderland. And I just wanted him to really feel loved and cherished and appreciated by our female main character. I knew that was very hard for her, but she wound up coming around to it. This was not a bad book by far. It just wasn't my favorite. That is why it's a 3-star. Let's jump into my actual favorites for the month of July. I do have 3. The first one was the first one that I read for the month. Now that let me know that July, from a reading wise, was going to be a great month. Outside of that, my personal life, crazy. But from a reading month, it slapped. The first favorite I have is Fleeing Fate. This is a Omega-verse hurt comfort polyamorous romance that is fated mates and chef's kiss, baby. I loved it. This one had a little bit of romantic suspense element. Our female main character, I believe her name was Ava. Baby, she was fighting for her life, literally and figuratively. It starts off very, very triggering that she and her brother were being captured. She lived in a kind of far off place in the woods with her father, and her mother had died. Her father was holding them captive, and he was trying to sell her brother off, which triggered a change in him. And we find out that she has no clue of anything, really. The poor baby doesn't know society because she's been sheltered. Her father really kept them off on a reservation where they didn't interact with any other humans. It has some religious trauma where everything was of the devil, and so she just really didn't know how to interact with other humans. Her brother is triggered in his change, and he becomes an alpha. And they did not know that they had an alpha and omega bloodline. Now, her brother is in full wolf condition, and he doesn't know how to shift. So she finds it that she's like, okay, well, I've been taking care of my brother this entire time. It is up to me to be able to find a way to escape. And so she leaves the town, and she steals her father's car. And granted, she thinks that he's dead because there was an altercation. So she flies off, and she's going into town trying to drive this car. Never have driven a car before. Possibly didn't even know what a car was. Like, that's how sheltered she was. She is speeding through town, and she hits a pothole and just keeps on tumbling. Now, she runs across the sheriff of the town, and this is a very small town. And so everyone in this small town knows about the alpha, beta, omega, omega verse scene, because it's either very packed with betas, just like a standard human being, and then you've got a few alphas that are in the town. She runs across the sheriff. The sheriff is a beta, and it's like, hey, what's going on? Let me help you. I can see that your brother is in a condition, and I can help him. I know where to take him. And he brings her to the alphas that he knows, one in which he's in a relationship. So it's 3 alphas, 1 beta, and lo and behold, she finally blossoms to be an omega. And it is their beautiful struggle to, understand what this dynamic was. They never necessarily thought that they were going to find their missing piece that would complete them. So they're all trying to find their way, and she's trying to determine, because all of this is new to her, whether or not she wants to be with them and whether or not she wants to be a omega. And I loved it. Now, my next favorite I read literally directly after that. I said, oh, this is how my birthday month is showing out. Back to back 5 stars? Absolutely. Terreece Clark, Heartbeat. Another romantic suspense. Woo, heart rate was palpitating with this one. Like Fleeing Fate, it gave me a little bit of the, suspense. This one, I was upside down on a roller coaster, stuck with no way out for hours and hours on end. That is how much this book consumed me. And let me tell you, it's a chunky boy. Like, this one is gotta be 500 pages. Actually, it is probably, it's over 530 pages. And every single page had me enraptured. Like, this book is literally a weapon itself. But when I tell you, I loved them. Maya and Mike, forever. This book starts off with Maya again fleeing, right? We're sensing a pattern. Again, all of my things I really realize have a pattern as they go in and out from one another. Maya is fleeing because she finds out she is with child. I'm not going to hold it from you. She is with child, and she is leaving because the man in which she is having a baby with is the scum of the earth. He is obsessed with her. He beats her. He has a lot of money, and he has a lot of power, and he definitely wields it. And he has used that as a lure for getting her in. He seemed like he was a nice guy, and then he flipped the switch. And now she's like, hey, now that I know that I'm going to be a mother, I've got to leave. Like, I can't be with this man, and I need to do whatever I need to do to get as far away as possible. And Maya is probably the most resourceful woman you're ever going to read about. Like, this woman here, she literally can be any woman she wants to because she's smart. The woman knows her stuff. She is literally a prodigy and a genius, and she uses that to her advantage. Goes to Denver, Colorado. She gets trapped because she is going up a mountain. Her car is not necessarily as reliable. So she pulls over, and she sees someone, and she's like, okay, do I ask them for help? Is this going to lead me in a even worse situation than I'm in? But lo and behold, she moves to this town, and this town has some of the nicest people that are willing to help. Like, I've never read, this is a small town kind of romance. I have never read a book that had more welcoming people. Like, they would literally give you the shirt off their back and the shoes on their feet in the blistering cold winter. And so she's like a little bit leery of whether or not she wants to trust them, but she lets her guard down because she sees that these people, you know, are not going to do her any harm. And it's funny because the reason that she's coming to this town is that her mother, before her mother passed away, talked about this one particular town and how she found the love of her life there, and how it was such a beautiful place. And she just wants to get a little bit closer to her mom as she's going through all of this so that everything can make sense to her. And that's a lot of the intrigue that's in this story as well. Just her reconnecting and understanding, you know, full circle how this place could be a home for her. And I loved it. When I tell you the suspense, it don't get no better than this one. 5 stars for sure. My next favorite is Elizabeth Stevens' Taken to Heimo. This is the 4th book. And I was waiting on this one because this is also like a fated mate situation. Opposites attract. It is Grump Sunshine as well. Again, very much a theme. Absolutely. When I tell you Chris Socks, I knew that him and Vera was going to be one that I would lock in on. I did not know the depths of what it was going to go to. Elizabeth Stevens knows what she's doing. She's going to write a situation every single time where there's some additional plot going on. It's not that it's just about them two in a relationship. There's something in the background that has these two fighting and getting to the point where they're taking on the world. It actually set the groundwork and foundation for a lot of other books, which I was starting to pick up. I have read the synopsis of every single book, and I'm like, oh, I know who you are. This is how you're entering into the situation. Vera is very tied to her religion, but she is also one for the people. She is making sure that Earth, I don't know what it's necessarily called anymore, how she still has a tie to our people, and she's trying to make sure that everyone is good. And that leads to her becoming very, very important to her community. And I loved this. Let's talk about some of my surprises. No one is more surprised than me that I absolutely love this one. Like, all vibes, absolutely perfection for me. I was in my Omegaverse bag, and so something said, if you want a shifter and you want a vampire, Ali Hazelwood's your girl. I say that I'm surprised because, look, I tabbed the mess out of this. I did not care for Ali Hazelwood's STEM romances. It was fine. It just wasn't, for me. And then she kept repeating the books. I was like, no, thank you. And so when this one came out, I said, I caught this one at a major discount. I was like, okay, well, let me see what it's about. It's got good ratings for good reason. Again, has some political intrigue, which is my jam. It has some family drama for sure. And it's just an all-around good time. You do have a little bit of found family elements. This is an arranged marriage, which I think this is what kickstarted me into my arranged marriage bag, because I am fully into it now. Me and arranged marriages, we're going together like peanut butter and jelly. Her father always put her up as a tribute. And so he was like, hey, you're actually the last person I wanted this to be, but I don't really have any options. I'm going to give you to the werewolves as a treaty for you to kind of bind our forces and our powers together. And so he sends her off to live with the lycanthrope. And she gets there and she's like, hey, really, honestly, I'm just looking for my friend. I heard that she went into your territory, and I'm sleuthing my way through to see, hey, did y'all kill her? What's going on? Like, yeah, my father sent me, but I got my own mission. And through that, she is starting to kind of like, again, very, very smart. She's trying to figure out the lays of the land. And he's like, actually, you smell like mine. You smell like the love of my life. And I'm starting to fall for you. And I need to make sure that we're good. We're going to last forever because I'm actually serious about you. Another surprise was Riffs and Refrains by Tiye Love. This one is a surprise because I got it as an advanced listener copy. And I wasn't necessarily sure because it was a country singer, cowboy romance, and it was great. It does have a little bit of a cheating trope. It is taboo and forbidden because he's a talent manager and she is said talent, and they shouldn't be together. Well, there is a little bit of an underlying thread in this, in the fact that she is following the footsteps of her grandfather. Now, her grandfather and her father actually didn't have a relationship. Her father has detested his father for so long, and she never really knew him, but she felt connected with him in music. And so he's always shunned his daughter from following in his father's footsteps. And so when the grandfather passes away, he leaves everything, his home, his rights, his money, everything to the granddaughter. And she's kind of shocked. And so she was like, okay, there's got to be a reason. There's something more to it. And she has this beautiful voice. And our main male character finds that, and he's like, hey, actually, you're going to go far, and I want to be the one to take you. Now, what's interesting is that there is a common thread, as I stated, because he is a part of this talent agency because of his stepfather, and his stepfather has a relationship with like the Dolly Parton of music at the time. Like, she is so renowned in the country music space. There's a common thread that kind of loops them through, and I loved how Tiye did this and was able to really make it all come together. So I was like, yeah, this is beautiful. The writing is so smooth. It's so poetic. Listening to it, no, I said I did get it as an advanced listener copy. The audiobook, not necessarily the best. They chopped it up a lot. So I would tell you, once this comes out in a digital book, read it that way, because like I said, the writing and the way that the story is written is beautiful. The way that the audiobook presents it, you've got to really see through the forest for the trees, because it's a little disjointed, and that can take people out of the storyline. All right, it is time to talk about my least favorite. Or most disappointing. Actually, that's what I'm going to say. It's my most disappointing book, because I came in with the highest of hopes that I was going to love this, because this author is my gal. Like, I ride for her, and I don't regret reading it. I didn't have the best time. Don't hate me, y'all. Everyone loves this book. Everyone loves and adores this book. Now, I love Danielle Allen. Let me tell you, if she writes it, I'm going to read it. And that's what happened here. I read it. I didn't really like it. And it's mainly because of the romance. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things in the book that hit so well. First and foremost, family drama. Our female main character, Aaliyah, her uncle can meet me outside any day of the week. Whatever time he want to come outside, baby, I'm ready. Because that man is definitely going to be in my family members I like to fight video. But the family drama was great. What I did not like was the romance. And that's very surprising, right? Because it's a romance book. Aaliyah was in Delulu Land. I find it very interesting that we talk about, a lot of people don't like the cheating trope. I fully get that, right? And this is actually not a cheating trope. However, for all intents and purposes, Aaliyah believes Ahmad is married. That man is wearing a ring. He talks about his wife, blase, blase, blah. For all she knows, the man is married. She's fantasizing about him. She is in his bar looking at him in the face. Again, very, very delusional. However, it takes two to tango. And Ahmad ain't never told her, hey, baby girl, I'm actually not married and I'm wearing this ring to keep the women off of me. But you, I'ma let slide. And I don't really like that, because to some degree I understood that I felt like he was gaslighting her and he was leading her on. He's talking about all of the dates that she goes on, because this is how the premise starts. Aaliyah is trying to get back out there because her family has really been talking mess about her and saying, we want grandbabies and we want you to have a future. We want you to be happy, but there's things that's preventing you and you need to get out here. You finna be 30. You need to figure it out, girl. I can set you up with a man. And she's like, first of all, y'all in my business. I never even wanted that. But now I'm going to show you better than I can tell you. I'm going to bring me a man home. And so she's going on all of these dates. And these dates are real. Like, it is the scum of the earth. This dating pool got piss in it. And Aaliyah is wading through it. And so she meets with Ahmad. And Ahmad is like, hey, come here. I will help you out. Come to the bar every Friday. Bring your dates. I'll let you know which ones is good, which ones is bad. I don't have no stake in the game. Again, I'm married. I'm gonna help you out. He not helping. He got something to say about every single man. And granted, they are trash. But the one that didn't seem like he was trash, the one that was holding out for the longest, he was like, yeah, actually, he don't know good for you. If you don't tell this woman you want to be with her, stop playing. Stop playing in my face. Because you're not married. You want me. And you let me go on these trash dates for what? I didn't like it. They actually probably should have remained friends. And he probably should have hooked her up with one of his homeboys. My soft DNF, which probably is going to be a hard DNF, is Credence. I was bored. There was so much. Like, I was like, when is it going to hit? Y'all love this book. People talk about Penelope Douglas like this person is the creme de la creme. And I say people, I mean BookTube. I don't mean the spaces that I'm in. I don't mean Bookstagram. But people really love Pen. And if this is one of the best that they've got, count me out. I thought I could wade the waters and get to where she's dating everybody, the uncle and the kids, but it's boring to me. Now, that leads me into August. One is going to be an all-time fave for me. It don't matter what he put out. Everything is great. And this happened to be his first book that just was released much later. S.A. Cosby, y'all. S.A. Cosby wrote My Darkest Prayer first. Like, this was his first book. And when I tell you, the man had the gift from the beginning. Like, this book, I don't know when he originally wrote it, but it was released in 2022, and it rings true. Like, it still gives me the vibes and has a very similar situation to his latest book, All Sinners Must Bleed. Like, them two are very similar, but the unique thing about them is that he writes them completely different. It's always going to be a high-paced thriller mystery that also has some religious context. Both of the characters, again, the similarity between the two, both of the characters have a law enforcement background. This, I guess, plot point was just a little bit more interesting. Like, I was like, now wait a minute. The church, the pastor, the community, wow, this town got a lot of juice in it. Like, what's tea? This book has the most romance that I've seen from S.A. Cosby, but don't get it twisted. It is not a romance. There is no happily ever after. You can get that out your head. S.A. said, hey, I'm giving the girls what they want. If they wanted a little bit of, romance, a little bit of something, I can do that. But it ain't what y'all can. This is not what it's for. And I appreciate him for giving what he got, because the book was fantastic. Also, speaking about political intrigue, which has been a running theme, I read Last Minute First Lady by Tinia Montford. Marriage of Convenience. You've got a reporter and a politician. Delectable. When I tell you that, I should have known better. Like, it started off based on a story, and they got caught up, and somebody took a photo of them, and she was like, well, actually, I'm going to do me a solid, and I'm going to do you a solid. I'm going to be your wife because it sounds like you're looking for one. And what you're going to do is you're going to give us the inside scoop. You are going to make sure that these pictures never see the light of day. And we're going to actually make it, a thing. I'm only going to be here for a year. We both knew that was a lie. And we're going to go ahead and get you reelected. In addition to the political intrigue, also like some true back history, her family situation, it does have family drama. She is trying to do the best for herself and make it, but her mom and her brother are holding her back, and just great. You want to see two people that actually want the best for each other and try to make it through. Last Minute First Lady is for you. And then, y'all, JL Seegars released a new book, and I'm not going to talk at length, ad nauseum about it, because I could spend 37 minutes, which we're at right now, just on that book. that book is reclaiming. Now, I'm waiting for my special edition to come. I'm waiting for my regular edition to come because y'all know me. I love JL. Baby, Hunter rivals Dom. Dominic and Hunter are my menses. One is my husband, one is the father of my kids. That's all to be said about that. Hunter is everything. I am so happy. I mean, so happy that he's getting his lady back, and they deserve, like, one thing's for sure. Ray is the female main character, and this one is second chance romance, as I stated. It does have the cheating trope in it. JL Seegars got the touch because she can take tropes that, like, me personally, I don't mind the cheating trope, but the second trope that a lot of people dislike is secret baby, and that's this one. She made a believer out of me. If I could tell you that there was not a secret baby book that I have ever liked, I'd be a liar, because this is the one. Does have some trigger warnings for grief, substance addiction. It has suicidal thoughts. So it is heavy per usual JL fashion, but she writes so beautiful. She writes heartbreaking romances, but she also writes the most epic love story. You get to see that Ray actually brought Hunter, back from the brink, and she built this man, and she helped him, and she's loved him. It has, it's a friend's little sister romance. It is so much, that is felt, and I loved it, y'all. Please go check it out, because these people deserve happily ever after, and they absolutely got it. Biggest surprise I had was Damian Windsor's by Ebony Farashuu. I think that's how you say that it is very, very intimate storyline, very, very quick. It is less than 300 pages. I went in thinking it was an erotica, and it does start off that way, but it is so much more than that. It is, first of all, beautiful writing, stunning writing, insta love romance, another trope that I don't necessarily love, but Ebony did it in amazing fashion or flair. It has some heavier content, some heavier things that are going on, but it is such a great romance that starts off, like I said, as a one-night stand, and it builds into like lifelong partners. I appreciate that our male main character, whose name is Damian, he really believes that this woman that he meets in Windsor is going to be like his partner, the love of his life. And he has such a good relationship with his family, has a great relationship with his mother, his siblings. He is a father to his 4-year-old son, and his relationship with the mother and her new husband is beautiful. It is such an adult romance. You get to see that he believes in Windsor, and she has her company, and she is a soap maker, and he's like speaking at conferences, and he like, hey, buy my lady soap. He is putting her on, and vice versa. She believes in his dream. He wants to go, and because he's an author, he wants to be self-published, and she's like, baby, you can do it, and I'm gonna support you. Whatever you need, let's go ahead and make it happen. And it happens in such a quick moment that you're like, there's no way that this is possible. I believe that it had some magical realism, but as time went on, it just was the cosmic universe working in that best effort, because there's no way that they should have went from 0 to 100 and that it worked out, but it worked out in the best possible way. And talking about cosmic and karma, the way that book ended, I said, Ebony, baby, you a real one, and I loved it. Another surprise is going to be Ablaze by AH Cunningham. And I say this is a surprise because the first book in the series, Alight, was not my favorite. I love Friends of Lovers, but that one could have dealt without it. But Ablaze, this surprised me for a multitude of reasons. One, I have never really explored a polyamorous relationship that was open in a book, right? I am used to polyamory, it being a closed circuit, like all the people are in love and are together, but the thought process of y'all either dealing with people outside of that romance, and then still coming back and being a unit, or opening and shutting and allowing other people to be in y'all romance but not in your romance, it's a foreign concept to me. So like this book right here will teach you more than anything. Like, you thought that you knew kinks, you thought that you knew lifestyles, you thought that you knew communication, you thought that you knew a healthy relationship looked like. Ablaze says, hey, you know, you don't even know the tip of the iceberg, because like I said, it taught you so much. And it, even if this wasn't the relationship for you, even if it wasn't something that you desire, you can appreciate the way an A.H. Cunningham writes it and explores it with the characters and opens your kind of third eye to be able to see, hey, there is so much more to explore out in the world, and there's so much that, you know, constitutes as a healthy and successful pairing that, you know, don't yuck nobody's young. Very well done, A.H. Cunningham. For my final, I guess would say least favorite book, it's actually going to be Endgame, and I think this is by Yasmine Hayes. I had every intent of going to read this and love this. And if it was a little bit more fleshed out, I felt like it was extremely rushed. There was some inconsistencies. I actually felt like I would love this. This is a situation where our female main character is in a relationship with one of her friend's cousins. And it starts off like by them having like the briefest or barest knowledge of one another and finding interest. And he's like, ooh, I've got to get her. But my problem is, I think he becomes a little too obsessed, and they don't really form a healthy relationship. They are spending so much time together. But the biggest thing is that while you're getting their love story, you're getting glimpses and briefs and flashes of her past that are interacting, and it really wasn't fleshed out. Like, he is an FBI agent working on the case, and the case somehow intertwines with her backstory, and it wasn't fleshed out enough to where I'm like, okay, you're introducing this character, and how does this character really play in the bigger scheme of things? You probably should have wrote that out a little bit more if you were going to make it work. It just felt really, really rushed, and I hate that for the author because it had such a good premise. Seemed like it was going to be a good time, but I might read. I think there was going to be a sequel to it. It kept my interest enough. It just was a little bit disjointed for me to read. I think that this is going to wrap it up. I'm going to have to edit this down. I am at 48 minutes, but do me a favor. If you could give me a fire sign emoji for Ablaze. You can give me a fire heart, just a fire symbol, but give me something that gives me a little bit of the heat that we get with A.H. Cunningham and Ablaze, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.